Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Hey, how's everybody doing out there? 4 years ago today. 4 years ago today, we lost Mr. Peart, Neil Peart from Rush. Peart. I don't know the exact. I've been a Rush fan for so long. Peart. There we go. Cheers to Neil and all you Rush fans out there. You know, probably again, I think I've said it before, Eddie Van Halen and Neil Peart was probably the biggest effect on me as a person, musician, fan of music in general. And that was a bad day, January 7th, 2020. And interestingly enough, you know, when Neil passed away, I remember exactly where I was. We were getting ready to go out to one of Jacob's select hockey games, and we were ready, and then Angela set it out in the kitchen, and I just didn't believe it. You know, it was one of those unbelievable things, completely a shock, didn't know he was sick, all that kind of thing. And then bone-crushing news that, you know, your heroes, your lifelong, you know, Canadian heroes, you know, that's the thing about Rush. We took it on. I grew up in Toronto, and Rush was our own, you know, Rush was our thing. Rush was our product. You know, it was this worldwide band that was just amazing and sounded like nobody else. And every album was a celebration back then. I remember when Moving Pictures came out, and we used to have this great old show called The New Music in Toronto on City TV, and it was a weekly catalog, weekly magazine. There's a good word. Magazine, just basically an hour long that did a bunch of weekly updates, and we used to watch it every week on Sunday. I think it was on Sunday night, with J.D. Roberts, Jeannie Becker, early VJs from, of course, Much Music. They grew into Much Music. New Music actually became Much Music. If you guys really want to watch something, if you know what I'm talking about, and you know the New Music and Much Music and the beginnings of that, you really got to watch a movie called 299 Queen Street East. And it's on Crave right now. Angela and I went down and saw the premiere at Roy Thompson Hall. What an incredible movie. If you grew up with Much Music, now you're not going to even understand it otherwise. It's actually a really cool thing, even if you didn't grow up with Much Music, and saw what the vision was of Moses Neimer for this TV station and TV show, and how they had this building that they completely refurbished in Toronto, and made this whole thing about not having a script and just going for it, you know, just doing it. And this show, The New Music, became Much Music, really. The same VJs kind of moved over, and The New Music every week. Anyways, on the side thought there, see that movie on Crave right now, if you can. If you're a fan, it's great. It's great. Steve Anthony throwing the Christmas tree off the roof. It's all in there. It's all in there. But Rush, every year, I remember watching The New Music, and Moving Pictures came out. It was like the first time I saw those videos at La Studio of Tom Sawyer, and that. It was just amazing. And then they would always interview them, you know. They were always smoking, you know. There was a big 70s, 80s thing, smoking. Eh? Like Getty always had his butt going, and you know, there was always some great clips of Rush on The New Music. There was the Ira Wynn Stadium sound check, just glued to the screen. You know, if we had our VHS record, we'd hit record. You know, record this thing. You know, our big VHS players that we had back then, our parents bought, and that, yeah, cool stuff. Neil Peart, what can you say about the greatest drummer ever? You know, it's hard to say. You know, his influences were like Buddy Rich, you know, big band stuff, and then, you know, of course the John Bonham and everybody, and Carmine Appice and Ginger Baker, I think, was one of his influences. But he was just one of a kind. You know, playing such musical things. You listen to his drum solo, and you know the chimes going, the tuned cowbells, stuff like that. You know, just incredible stuff. And then, of course, he's the band's lyricist, which was took the band from another level. You know, when Neil passed away, Sirius Radio had, of course, put a Rush channel on. That weekend that he passed away, we went to Jacob's hockey game that night, which I was really sad. And then the next day, we went to see Trooper, Loverboy and Trooper at Casino Rammer. We took the whole drive up there, and as the whole drive up, the Sirius had the Rush station on. And I remember a song off the first album came up. I think it was What You're Doing, or might have been Finding My Way. And I remember Jacob, my son in the back, said, "Wow, Neil Peart was a big part of this band, wasn't he?" Because that, if you guys know, the first album was just rock tunes. They were just another rock band using kind of pseudo Zeppelin riffs and high vocals like Robert Plant, and then songs about girls and life experiences. Then the next album comes out, Neil's in the band, and all of a sudden we're singing about Bytor and the Snow Dog. You know, things change. Anthem. They're singing about Ayn Rand and Anthem and all that. And incredible how we flipped the switch and went over, and then they had a real rough time during Caress of Steel. The band almost broke up because, you know, but they stuck to their guns, and that's what you gotta really admire Rush for, is they always stuck to their guns, and they were always evolving, changing styles. You know, the keyboard, you know, when they got into Signals, and some people turned off the band and didn't like the band during the keyboard years, very introspective stuff in that time of their lives when they all had families by this point and were really thinking about a lot of things. And then they came back full circle and came back with, you know, Counterparts, sorry, and Presto, and some of the albums started getting a little heavier near the end, and then they finished up with one of their heaviest albums there with the Clockwork there. But basically, amazing that the band evolved like that, isn't it? And then the lyrics evolved, and you know, Geddy always says there's some bad songs too, like you know. You guys know what the bad songs are in that era. But, you know, Rush, for me, I first saw them, was watching TV, doing homework one night, and there was a show with 3 Canadian bands. Stampeders was one of them, Rush, and I can't remember the last band. And they were just showing videos because there was no much music yet, or no MTV in Canada, and they were just playing the promotional videos. And Rush, this was just around Farewell to Kings, and Rush made 3 videos at Seneca College on the stage. And you know, if you can look them up, they're on YouTube right now. The videos for Farewell to Kings title track, Closer to the Heart, which I just played, and of course they came back from commercial, and there's 2 guys standing there in kimonos with double necks, and they played Xanadu, which is my favorite Rush song. And what a visual! 2 guys standing there with double neck guitars and just with the hair, you know, the long hair and the kimonos, and then the drummer's got this double bass kit and the stacks of Marshalls behind them, or I think they might have been Hi-Watts at that point. And wow, that was it. I'm sold. I'm a Rush fan. That's it. I'm done. And then they played that entire Xanadu video on regular TV, which was, I mean, I think that's a 9-minute song. Incredible song. I was sold. Yeah, I was sold. But anyhow, Neil died on January 7th, 4 years ago today, 2020. And then, of course, everybody knows what happened a few short months later in 2020. Pandemic hit. I always laughed when I thought about Rush when around the time of the pandemic. I think, wow, Neil got out just before. But wouldn't we have loved the insight of Neil Peart about the pandemic and everything else? I think God got him out early, so he didn't have to deal with all that, because that would have been a big deal for him, because he was an atheist. Um, he was very, very much into the present of what was going on. There was no after in that. There was the present, and how that mode of thinking thinks. And it would just be interesting to see all the takes on all the stuff that happened, and how we had to be vaccinated and all that stuff, and what would Neil thought. I always said, I had a few posts back then. I said we need Neil right now during the pandemic. And yeah, it was a rough go of it losing him. And then I remember posting a picture of him up at the studio. Another thing that's gone, right? I don't know if you remember all those videos that I talked about on the new music that were filmed for the Moving Pictures album, which was I think they had 3 videos, which were Tom Sawyer, Limelight, and Vital Signs. Those are the 3 I remember. And they were all filmed at the studio up in Morin Heights, Quebec, and they did quite a few albums there. It's the same video, April Wine. I did I Like to Rock and a few other videos there. But yeah, that place is gone now too. And I remember seeing a picture of Neil, who drove up there, and he had a house in Quebec, if you read his books and that kind of thing. You knew he lived in northern Quebec, kind of close to, I guess he must have liked it up there in Marin Heights. And there's a picture of him showing up there. If anyone doesn't know, Le Studio was abandoned. I think it was still owned by somebody, but it was basically left to rot. And unfortunately, a lot of squatters went in there, broke in, lived there. And the place eventually, there was plans to there was GoFundMe's to revitalize it. And eventually, I guess there was a lot of squatters and vagrants and transients that lived in the place, and they eventually burnt it down. There's lots of speculation whether, there's some people burned it down for insurance to get more money to rebuild it and that. I think it's still in the process of being rebuilt. The main building apparently is still intact. As the studio got busier and they made more money, they built other sections onto the building where more sleeping quarters, and there was a sound stage at one point. That's all gone now in the fire. But the main room that you see the Rush videos and the April Wine videos, that's still around. Don't know what's going on for that. Look it up. Give me an update. What's going on with the studio? But we know what's going on with Rush. They're no longer playing. There's talk of getting together and stuff like that. Getty's out on a book tour, which sounds phenomenal. Student of mine, Liam, went out to see the book tour, and Alex Lifeson interviewed him at Massey Hall, which must have been a really great moment. But cheers to everybody out there, and cheers to Neil Peart's family and the guys in Rush and their families. He was one of a kind, and we will never have another Neil Peart, ever. No. That is for sure. And on that note, we'll change gears. A really big thing has happened for my son Jacob, who is on this Friday night, January 12th, he will be opening for the Trews at the Crewfest announcement party. Crewfest is if you don't know, is the annual outdoor huge concert that we have here in my town, Brantford, Ontario. Last year it was live in Our Lady of Peace headlining. This year, we don't know. That's why we're going to an announcement party, because there's going to be announcing. There's 2 nights. It's going to be a Friday night show and a Saturday night show with lots of incredible bands. I'll let you know a little secret. No, I won't. I will not do that. But Jacob has, Jamie Stevens, our great friend, and he actually got Jacob his first gig ever during the pandemic. He was doing showcases that we was live streaming, and we played there twice, and that was his first gig, professional gig. Jacob, we played an hour set, and he was very nervous, and his voice almost made it through the hour set. I had to sing with him on the last couple songs, and then that was his training area. So thank you, Jamie, for that, and thank you for giving us this huge opportunity to open for the Trews at the announcement party, which is going to be amazing. Be there. I have to jump off stage and tear out to Hamilton and play with my band Threesome, who's playing the End Zone the same night. So that will be interesting. I just pray for good weather, because I don't want to be slowing down myself driving that way down to the 403. Anyhow, more Bridge on Fire gigs coming up after next week. I think we're at Buck's Tavern coming up. And just more of the same. Happy New Year to you all. Thank you for tuning in on my 200th show. This is 201. We're continuing along. And have a great one, guys. Take it easy. Happy Sunday.